I remember the first time I became consciously aware of the impact images have on my emotions. It was after the 9/11 attacks in New York. Image after image of injured, terrified people emerging out of a thick gray fog of ash. Buildings crumbled to the ground around them. I was traumatized not only by the event, but the amount of photos showing the devastation on repeat in the media for months, even years afterwards. Every time I saw those images, I was emotionally reliving the experience over and over again, because what we see gives us an instant, visceral response, which means the way we feel can be altered simply by looking at a photograph. What I needed was to see and feel something positive come out of the trauma, to feel hopeful for the future, to see and feel the unity that emerges out of the rubble of difficult situations. But uplifting images that give us hope and joy rarely make the news. And it made me contemplate what we deem as newsworthy. I mean, we know that multi-billion-dollar industries have been built on the persuasive impact images have on the way we think, feel, and interact. So when newscasts primarily show negative fear-based images, imagine how that affects us. As a society, how we view each other and interact in our communities. It breeds fear and hopelessness on an emotional level, and that's what I felt. I stopped watching the news and avoided looking at newspapers, but I didn't know what to do with the way I felt. And I shut myself down to block it out. I lived like that for years, completely shut down and disconnected, until I came to a point in my life where nothing seemed to be working out for me. I was stressed out, doing work I wasn't passionate about, and at the end of an unhealthy relationship that had completely destroyed my self-esteem. I was miserable, and I didn't like the way I felt. But this time, instead of shutting down even further, I made the choice to focus on creating the emotions that I wanted to feel. And I sold everything I owned and began traveling around the world to do some deep soul searching. I made a list of everything I wanted to feel, experience, and share in the world. Things that got me excited about life, that inspire my passions and challenge me to grow. And I decided to make feeling and sharing joy a priority in my life. Because joy is the emotion we feel when we feel loved, accomplished, connected to ourselves and to other people. It's the emotion we experience when we found our purpose, when we're doing what we love, with the people we love. And then one day, I was doing some jumping photos with a friend of mine. And we were giddy and laughing at ourselves in the photos. And we joked about how amazing it would be to travel the world taking photos of people jumping for joy. And it hit me. I love photography. And if images of destruction and chaos can instantly cause feelings of sadness and fear, why can't the same be true in a positive way? By creating photographs that inspire an overwhelming sense of joy. And jumping is a perfect metaphor for life. It represents overcoming fear and being fully committed to a choice, and trust, as in taking a leap of faith. And our body chemistry changes. We feel uplifted from all the endorphins being released in our body. And it's our innate response to celebration at the anticipation or receiving of something we desire. Think about the reaction when you tell little kids they're going to get an ice cream cone. They get all excited and they start jumping around. Or if your favorite sports team wins the playoffs, people jump up in celebration and they start high-fiving and hugging each other. So doing jumping photos is super fun. You feel giddy and silly and playful and excited, just like a little kid about to get an ice cream cone. So I began to capture the powerful essence of joy in photographs as people jump up and creatively express themselves in midair. In this split second, we're spontaneously co-creating art and uplifting our spirits together. And that joyful energy that's captured in the photos is then transferred to the viewers, who get to share in the experience through their own visceral response to the photos. So this was the foundation to the Jump for Joy photo project, and I gave myself a goal: to create a book of 1,000 people jumping for joy around the world, as a way to share that energy on a larger scale. But by this time, I was flat broke. My equipment was outdated or broken. I was living out of my suitcases and couch surfing around from week to week. All really good reasons not to begin a worldwide photo project with no funding. But I knew I just had to do this project. So I took a leap of faith, and I started anyway. I just started taking photos of people jumping and sharing them online. And I began to receive positive emails from people around the world who also felt that we need to see and feel more joy reflected in our lives. I knew I was onto something beautiful and necessary, so I kept going. And about 2 years into the project, I had a heart-opening experience when I said yes to the opportunity to share my jumping photos on the side of a building that was 3 stories high and 2/3 the length of a football field wide, and located in a dirty, smelly alleyway in Canada's poorest neighborhood, the downtown Eastside of Vancouver. I never even thought about making a photo mural before, and I loved the idea. I learned how to make the glue, how to drive a scissor lift in the alleyway, just with the help of people that were hanging out there. So I'd never spent a lot of time in the downtown Eastside before I started working on the mural. There are a lot of people living on the streets, struggling with hunger, addiction, abuse, and mental illness. So I saw a lot go down in that alleyway. But I never once felt unsafe or unwelcome. The joyful energy in the photos instantly opened us up to each other. It gave us something in common that we could relate to and a chance to interact with each other. It was amazing. People would literally cheer for me and thank me for making the mural because they loved looking at all the joyful photos. I met people like Sonia, with ripped, dirty clothes, arms filled with track marks and bruises, and she'd spend hours looking at the photos. She'd tell me I was doing a great job and making her alleyway beautiful. Or Lawrence, begging for money on the street to get high. He actually put down his needle to make sure I was safe. Or Alexander, who was wandering through the streets one day, singing to himself in memory of his partner who died doing drugs in the alleyway. He was so profoundly moved when he came across the joyful photos that he began to cry. He hugged and thanked me for bringing joy to this area. For him, the mural was a message from God. Sharing joyful photos in this destitute alleyway completely changed not only the way the alley looked and felt, it changed my perception and how I now interact with people in this neighborhood. And then a few months later, I was walking through, and I was shocked to discover the mural being removed. I was heartbroken. But when I shared the news online, the response was overwhelmingly that I should just make a new one. And I quickly realized that this was an amazing opportunity to include people from the downtown East Side in the mural. So within 3 days, I'd found a new, even bigger location, and the entire process started all over again. And I ran around the downtown East Side taking photos with people you wouldn't imagine had any reason to jump for joy, but they did. And they loved being included. Volunteers came out from around the city, mostly from the downtown East Side, to help me make 250 6-by-6-foot posters, which I pasted to the side of a 6-story building. The Wall of Joy mural became a massive community art project that brought hundreds of people together from all walks of life, all with the intention to share the beautiful, uplifting energy of joy. Creating these murals allowed me to experience firsthand the value and impact of sharing joy on a large scale within a community that really needed it. I got to experience the positive human side to the story that emerges out of the rubble of difficult situations. Jumping for joy literally and figuratively changed my life. I love the way joy makes me feel. I love the way it influences how I interact with others and how that energy is reflected back to me. Because joy is an emotion that opens our hearts. It brings people together, inspires connection, and unifies us in our own humanity. Thank you.